Well, let's get down to it. We've got a dynamic duo to talk real estate today on Radio for Small Business, Elizabeth and Matt Faircloth with the DeRosa Group in Trenton, New Jersey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Great to be here.
Now, I got to ask, Elizabeth, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and maybe, Matt, you can jump in about your personal background after she's done.
Sure. So I, just in a nutshell, my background's actually got my master's degree in social work and my degree in psychology, and during that time, we really got involved in real estate, which makes no connection or means, there's no real connection with those things. But the background is really just taking some courses and getting really interested in how do we start a business, and in particular in real estate investing. And I always liked helping people, always liked making a difference, but really wanted to also start a business.
Gotcha.
So, so we kind of started it out of that need to want to be independent and create, financial freedom for ourselves, but at the same time, we really wanted to do things the right way and take care of people and kind of have a, social mission around making money. So that kind of, I think that was born out of my desire of, social work and taking care of people and trying to help people, but also help ourselves. So that's just a little bit of background about me.
Cool. Matt, how about yourself? Are you in the social work area?
No, I'm completely different. I actually got my degree in engineering with a minor in business. So yet again, something that has absolutely nothing to do with real estate either. So it was something that aids me in our day-to-day business and the knowledge of numbers and systems and processes and in just how things work mechanically and things like that. That's aided me quite a bit in the real estate business. But I had to teach myself a lot about the real estate business when we decided to get into it. That was outside of my schooling per se. So.
Now, engineering and social work, those are two very, very far fields from real estate. Matt, you said something about systems, and that's a big buzzword for our listeners on Radio for Small Business. How do you tell us about some of the ways that you use your background to develop and maintain the systems that you all use at the DeRosa Group?
Sure. A couple different things. Number one, we are landlords, and a lot of things in a landlord's business or in any business in general should be centered upon reducing expenses. And so a lot of things that I learned in engineering were about reducing the utility costs and things like that that I apply anyway to reducing the utility costs in buildings, anything from energy system upgrades, just straight out efficiency. So engineering's taught me about the efficiency of mechanical systems and how to apply, and I've learned how to apply it and how to apply that indirectly in some ways into the real estate business.
Gotcha.
That's number one. But the real answer to your question is really about business process systems, which Liz and I are big disciples of the book, The E-Myth. And so we have a pretty solid procedural manual for the DeRosa Group for our property management business and managing real estate. And quite a bit of that is a systematized approach. So nothing has to be done for the first time ever. It's always, there is a process, there is a procedure, there's a documentation for how to do all the tasks associated with our business.
Gotcha.
So, Liz, did you want to chime in on that,
Gotcha.
Liz?
No, it's perfect.
And I was going to ask, Matt, because I was an engineering student for literally a year and realized I wasn't going to cut it, okay? And I know that engineers, my wife calls me a nerd too. Elizabeth, when it comes to the people side of the business, are you more of the people person, or is it a good mix between you guys?
Yeah, it's funny. I would say we're both people oriented from that perspective. But when it comes to kind of being like having an expertise in it and then kind of a genius level at it, I guess that might be a little more my bailiwick. Just because while we were growing our real estate business and really putting it out there, Matt quit his job about 10, 11 years ago, and I was helping him and being a strategic partner with him in the business. I also continued my consulting work, which was for the past number of years. I'm no longer full-time, but I basically was in the people business. So I was in management consulting, helping companies, basically start, build, and maintain their business from a people perspective. So it is a level of, expertise that I have. And so as I've gotten more involved in the DeRosa Group over the years, going from full-time to just partner, and now back more and more involved in our business since having our little one, I've really, brought again to the level of building, the right team and partnerships, and, how do you do that from a skill and an experience and a personality perspective. So I've really brought a lot of my consulting experience and kind of know-how from that perspective into the business from that perspective. So
I see. And you mentioned something, Elizabeth, and just in case you're just tuning in, we're talking to Elizabeth and Matt Faircloth of the DeRosa Group in Trenton, New Jersey. We've been talking a lot about their personal background. Elizabeth, you mentioned that Matt was able to, quit his job or go full-time in the business about 10 years ago. Now, I do want to ask this because I know, and forgive me if I'm stereotyping, okay? I read books.
Sure.
Typically, the wife is more security-minded than the husband. That's a generality, I know, okay? How did you really, tell us about the emotions that went through your head when you were saying, hey, I'm going to support you in this, and we're going to make things happen?
Well, I think that's a really good question, Eugene. I think the difference between our process and many others' processes, he didn't come to me with this idea. We actually had invested in our first property when we were both working full-time 2 years before that. So literally, we bought our first rental together. So we took the courses together. We really jumped in together, and we both kind of had that entrepreneurial mindset. I will say my husband's more of a risk taker than I am. However, we do share the same value of what we want out of life and what we're willing to do to get it. So when he said, we've been doing this for a couple of years. We have at that point, we had a very small portfolio. He said, I really want to do this full time. I said, yeah, I want us to get to our goals. So you take the risk and quit your job. And I enjoy what I do. I'm good at it. And he was good at it and enjoyed what he did, but he probably enjoyed it a little less than me. And I did enjoy what I was doing. So I said, for both of our goals to be achieved, take that plunge. So yeah, I don't think it was a conversation of him coming to me saying, hey, I want to do this. It was more like we were both on the same page as to, the risk we were willing to take as a couple. And then, so I felt like, I was part of the entrepreneurial kind of mindset because I was in there with him so we can achieve our larger goals. Hey, so I never looked at it, he does this and I do this. It was more like, we're a team. Were we always in agreement with everything? No, but we do share the same values, and we did share the same wanting and interest of, building a business and doing it together.
I think that's pretty cool. Matt, tell us a little bit about more specifics about the DeRosa Group. I know you're real estate. Would you officially be called real estate investors, property manager? Tell us a little bit more about DeRosa Group.
Sure. We're primarily real estate investors. We do manage properties for other people, but it's far and few between. We don't really do very, very much of that at all. Our primary focus is managing our own portfolio of rentals and raising private capital from investors that want to enjoy the benefits of real estate ownership, but not have to actually do a lot of the doing that comes along with real estate ownership, right? So that's we own about 80% of our portfolio is residential, about 20% is commercial. That consists of an office building that we occupy ourselves, but we've also turned into a small business incubator that's got 18 different companies ranging from law firms to not-for-profits that occupy the space. And then on the residential side, we have everything from single-family homes to apartment buildings. And we've built a lot of that with our own capital and with some seed money from family when we first got started 10 years ago, but also we've transitioned that into private investors,
Gotcha.
on the open market that have come in and injected equity into different projects to and come along with us as partners and help us take down larger deals.
Gotcha. Now, you said something about the seed funding. A lot of the people we talk to, business owners on radio for small business, one of the things that they obviously have an issue with is initial funding and raising the capital in order to start business. You mentioned that some of your family supported you enough. Do you think it was because you and Elizabeth had enough of a work ethic to finish college, and is it that they saw you already on your way to success? Do you think that helped you convince the family to invest a bit?
I'd like to think so. Maybe it's just because they just loved us so much as family members. Who knows? But we were I think that we showed them our passion for succeeding no matter what, and our diligence in vetting out deals and our track record, because we did do some projects before we went to them for the large amount of seed capital that we got to get into real estate is not something that it takes a little bit of seed capital to get started in. If you want to make the big splash in this business, you need a significant amount of seed capital. So we had to show them that we had some network and some success put together already in the business, and some education too, before they were able to commit to that.
That's pretty cool. Elizabeth, Matt said something that you see a lot of videos online talking about how to get started in real estate with no money down, no cash out of your own pocket. But, Matt really just spoke the truth. It does take capital in order to start the business. Can you talk to us about the process, maybe how you go about finding the properties or marketing for the properties that you guys eventually invest in?
Sure. So, and we have a couple of different focuses. So one major focus is obviously buying and then renting. So buy and hold, so to speak. And we started with single family homes and duplexes. And now our last purchase last year was 18 units. So, and that's the largest one apartment building that we own, and then we own a number of, like I said, duplexes, small multifamilies. So as we've continued on our road of real estate investing, we've kind of shifted approaches. The larger the deal, like the 18 unit or a 10 unit apartment building, we're trying to get into that kind of game now in terms of a little larger of apartment buildings. We're dealing with brokers, right? So you're dealing with a broker, you're dealing with those types of referral sources to look at the properties. In a smaller property, or if you're looking to flip a property, we also buy and flip, buy, renovate, flip. That's another strategy of ours that we're involved in. Wholesalers or realtors or somebody here's a property that's an estate sale. So we get our leads in a lot of different ways. But what we've been finding from as we get into larger commercial properties, and when I say commercial, larger, just apartment buildings, which is more of a commercial loan,
right.
We're really definitely working with commercial brokers, because that's really where you're going to find them. You're not going to just find them randomly. You're going to find them through some avenue that's pretty structured, and they have they have all the rent roll, they have all the documentation. It's not just a small deal. So the bigger the deal, it seems like we're getting into working with partners in that way.
As you're growing, Elizabeth, as the business is growing, are you finding it easier to find deals and easier to do business because the deals are getting bigger and you guys are establishing more and more of a track record?
Yeah, I would say in some ways that it's a yes and a no, which is interesting. In the perspective of buy and holds, it has gotten incredible. It's gotten easier over the years because people just they know we'll get things done, and we have a good quality team and we do good work. With the buying and flipping, we have a good track record, but it's interesting because that's actually gotten much more competitive the last few years. That's probably due to all the TV shows. Flip this house, flip Boston, flip this. So I think because of the competition, especially in our local market, finding deals is just people. I mean, there's deals that we pass on and we'll know that are going to cost too much money to do, and lo and behold, they've already had 5 offers of people who want the property so bad, and we're looking at each other like, I don't know how people are going to make money with that deal. So I think it's interesting because I think it seems like a very sexy, business to get into these days, and it's just a little more competitive. So what we've been doing is actually just expanding our reach and doing some more, creative marketing, creative ways to get some more deals.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Matt, Elizabeth said something when she talked about the house flipping shows increasing competition. You're the numbers guy, so I'm going to ask you, what's the biggest difference? And this is also probably a warning to the people who are going to watch those shows and just run out and invest their life savings. What's the biggest thing that from being an investor in real estate that they don't show on the TV shows?
Sure, they don't show. I'd never see them talk about something called contingency, which is, just in case money, right? And when you're doing a fix and flip on a house, you just can't know everything, You're not going to know everything there is to know about the house until you start taking it apart and getting to see what the bones look like and bumping into your surprises, because there's always a surprise. And sometimes it's a good surprise. We did one fix and flip, didn't realize that the owner was going to leave his car in the garage, and he did, and he included it in part of the sale, unbeknownst to us. So we just got him to sign off on title after closing, and before you know it, we had a car, included in the sale, which we weren't aware of, and unfortunately, we've done deals where we didn't know it until after closing, but there was extensive termite damage, even though we'd done termite inspections and that it didn't uncover the section of the house that had quite a bit of termites. So things come up, and most of the times it's things that are going to cost you extra money. So on those shows, they don't talk about contingencies, which any business owner needs to set aside, regardless of what business you're in, a line item in your budget of just in case money, because you just don't know all the facts. Things are going to come up, and we as business owners, I'm talking outside of real estate too, anybody needs to have the resources to be nimble to work around potential obstacles, right? So as a fix and flip, that could mean termite damage. That could mean a roof leak. That could mean the township wanting you to pull a permit for something that you didn't think was a permittable item, and that permit's going to cost you $1,000. Things like that just come up. You just don't know, right? So, or maybe you would know if you'd done more digging, but there's, just things are going to come up even if you do your due diligence. So, any business owner needs to have some money set aside and things in their budget for just Murphy's Law, if you want to call it that. But, that kind of stuff. So
awesome. Awesome. Sound advice from Elizabeth and Matt Faircloth of the DeRosa Group in Trenton, New Jersey. Elizabeth, why don't you give the listeners a way to at least find out more about the DeRosa Group and maybe a way they can get in contact with you?
Sure. So our website's www.derosagroup.com. So that's always helpful. Our email that would get to both of us or one of us is info@derosagroup.com. I'd also recommend for the listeners out there that are either interested or current real estate investors, I would highly recommend a website that Matt and I actually blog together on called biggerpockets.com. And it's a weekly blog on the site, and it's just tremendous resource for real estate investors, free. Most of it, if not all of it's free to people. So like I said, we blog on there. We're pretty active on the site, so people can always find us on biggerpockets.com or certainly our website directly. So
sounds great. Elizabeth and Matt Faircloth of the DeRosa Group in Trenton, New Jersey, thanks for taking your time out on Radio for Small Business.
Thanks, Eugene. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.